The Salt River Float in Mesa, Arizona has been a big item on our bucket list for some time now. We have done a few floats such as the Boise River Float in Idaho, Rainbow River Tubing, Blue Spring, and Kelly Park Rock Spring Tubing in Florida. However, the mix of gorgeous scenery and the chance to see wild horses sets this experience apart from other floats. This float takes place along the lower Salt River, where the water is much calmer and perfect for a relaxing float. Along the way, you'll see imposing cliffs, interesting desert scenery, and if you're lucky, wild horses either along the riverbanks or wading in the water. Floating the Salt River is one of the best ways to cool off during the intense summer heat in Arizona, and it also makes for a wonderful adventure. Over the course of this video, you will be riding along with us on our adventure, but if you want the details on doing this for yourself, you can jump ahead to the time on the screen. Our run down the Salt River started off nice and early. We arrived at the water users recreation area at right around 7:30. I expected it to look kind of like this, but instead the parking lot was practically full. This is the challenge of doing the float on your own because we still had to go drop one of the cars off at the other parking lot and come back. There are going to be rangers roaming the parking lot and they are very observant. They do not allow you to hold spaces for your group, so getting parking for everyone in your group is 50% luck and 50% timing. Also, whether you are using the America the Beautiful Pass or the Tonto Pass, don't forget to put it on your dash because you don't want to finish the float and find out that you got a ticket. While the rest of the group was pumping up all of the inflatables, Raymond and I made our way over to the Fawn D. Sutton parking area as quick as we could. It was definitely a team effort, but thankfully the river gods smiled upon us and we found parking spaces when we got back. Whether you are renting a tube or doing the float on your own, chances are you will be starting at the same spot. And one thing was evident as we got closer to the water's edge, everyone was here to have a great time. Soon the air was filled with what must have been 30 different Bluetooth speakers, tons of laughter, and people trying to figure out how to tie their rafts together. We decided that we were going to get out on the water first and try to tie our rafts together as we went, and we ended up learning that that is probably one of the most difficult ways to go about it. The first part of the float is pretty wild. You're going to be pretty much playing bumper boats with tons of strangers. The good thing is that everyone seemed really excited and you can make some friends pretty quick out there.
We're not starting off looking super efficient, I gotta say. We're looking a little sloppy.
Finally, the crowds started to thin out and we were able to put in some work trying to catch up to the rest of our group that was about 100 yards downriver. Shade is going to be one of your best friends out here, and there are two good things. One is that my dad was joining us today, and the other is that he brought a pack of umbrella hats. Things will be starting off nice and calm on the float, but just know that you need to get ready because things are going to be getting a little bit rowdy in a second. While it's not going to be full-on whitewater rafting, there are going to be some rapids along the way and you're going to meet some plants.
You're doing so good, honey. You're definitely steering the whole flotilla. Uh-oh. Oh, we got some rapids.
Oh, no, not the bushes, not the bushes. I'm going to the bushes. I'm going to the bushes.
Gotta get away.
The bushes, bushes. Not the bushes. Not the bushes. Why do we always get into the bushes? What is going on?
We made it through the first rapid section, and just on the other side of it, we ran into the rest of our group.
We finally got the band together.
If you have a dog that loves water, they are going to have an amazing time here. I think that Asher the Adventure Pup spent about 80% of the float swimming. If you are looking for a way to level up your float experience big time, bring squirt guns. Not only did we have some pretty epic battles within our group, but other groups that floated by had water guns too, and we even battled with some people on the shore. Not only is it really fun, but it's quite refreshing as well. If you want to swim along the route, we highly recommend bringing snorkel fins. That way you can keep up with your group. But be warned, there are some very shallow sections, so it's probably safest to stay in the tube. I ended up finding out the hard way and walked away with a bruised fingernail and a couple of scrapes. If you want a very premium experience, your group needs a Phil. This guy likes to work hard, and he spent most of the time standing up and steering our little floating island. But even with him at the helm, we were still not able to thwart the bush gods, and they were demanding a sacrifice. So buckle your seatbelts, because there's about to be some turbulence.
Watch out, Claudia. Fight for your life.
Welcome to a part of the river known as Bulldog Canyon.
Oh no, Claudia, let's go. We get you.
Crap. We're going to the side. We'll go back to the side. Oh, crap. Ah! I don't know how much more she can take, Captain.
This part of the river is a wild ride, and these are some of the nastiest rapids that you'll encounter on the lower Salt River. But even at that, it's still probably only a Class 1. The good thing is that if you are not having a great time, you are almost to one of the first exit options. There are actually 3 exit options here because we are now at Pebble Beach, Blue Point Bridge, and Sheep's Crossing. There's definitely a party atmosphere here with tons of easy ups down on the water's edge. There's also a cliff jump, and there are no shortage of people along the water's edge that are willing to have a water fight with you. If you are ending your float here and you will be utilizing the shuttle, you will be using the Blue Point Bridge parking area. You can find that on the right side of the river just after the bridge.
Get him! Get him! Oh, here it comes! Here comes more!
Just after we passed the Blue Point Bridge, we ended up getting caught in another rapid and thrown into the bushes again. There was a little bit of a bottleneck with all of the other tubers on the river, but then things calmed right back down. The funniest thing about the Salt River Float is that there are moments that are so peaceful and serene, and it seems like they're always followed up with extreme moments of chaos.
We're going in! Hold on, Daddy! Hold on, Daddy!
Oh, Raven, get Raven.
Don't lose the snacks!
Even though I think the tubes are more fun, I definitely see why some people would prefer a paddleboard or a kayak. While it would be a whole lot more work, it would also give you the opportunity to steer yourself out of danger. Even with our emergency paddles, we just couldn't stay clear of the plants. If you do decide to bring a kayak or paddleboard, be sure to get a river fin on it. If you try to bring the standard fin, it will get damaged or broken off.
Yeah, get it! Ah! There's a big tree! There's a big tree! Ah! Oh crap! Oh my god! It's chaos! It's amazing!
Even though the lower Salt River is famous for its wild horses, there are plenty of other opportunities for wildlife sightings here. This area is home to bald eagles, the great blue heron, river otters, beaver, coyotes, mule deer, and fish and turtles. While we didn't see any river otters or beavers, we did get to see the famous Salt River horses.
Tell my story!
We are now arriving at an area known as the Mud Cliffs. This is a really popular spot to pull off of the river and hang out on the shore. And also there was a cave in the cliff wall with a rope. It appears that this is another cliff jump. We are already talking about coming back to do the float again next year. I think that next time I would almost like to try it around sunset. This area is already beautiful as it is, but I can only imagine how beautiful it would be with that soft golden light. Soon we saw the sign for exit number 4, and this is Goldfield. If you are renting a tube from Salt River Tubing, this is as far as you can go. As for us, we still had about 2.5 more miles to go. Things were going along really peacefully, and our good friend Aaron was getting some great shots with his 360 camera. Unfortunately, those bush gods took one good look at that camera and decided that they wanted one too. The next thing we knew, the river tossed us off to the side and ripped that poor camera right out of Aaron's hands. So, one moment of silence for Aaron's camera. The next stop along the way is Coon Bluff, and this is the least popular takeout spot. Once you get to Goldfield, the vast majority of tubers are going to get off the river, and there are going to be sections where you feel like you have almost the entire thing to yourself. You will be coming to some very narrow and fast-moving sections, and then there are other spots that hardly have any current to them at all. This is one of the most narrow parts of the float, and if you're tied together, it can be tricky to get through. Even though we all took our turns getting destroyed by the bushes, the good thing is that no one got seriously hurt.
I'm going. I'm going to the island.
We are now approaching the tail end of the Coon Bluff recreation area, and this is where we found something that we weren't expecting to see. There is a large rocky face here, and it had two things that were interesting about it. The first thing is that it appeared to be home to a bunch of swallows, and as we got closer, we could see them zipping about. And the other thing is that all of the climbers in the group noticed that there are bolts here. This is an official climbing area with over 10 routes. So who knows, maybe the next time that we do the float, we'll have to bring our harnesses and shoes. We are now very close to the end of the float. The Fondie Sutton exit is where pretty much all tubes get off the river. If you have a paddleboard or kayak, you can continue on a little bit further, but there is no current. You will be coming to a couple of forks in the river. You will be exiting on the left side, so we went left at both forks. The Fondie Sutton area is another spot where people will set up easy-ups down in the water. So when you start to see a lot of people, just know that it is almost time to get out. Our float ended up taking just over 5 hours, and it was something that we won't soon forget. It was an epic adventure with some incredible friends. We only had one challenge left though, and it was to carry some heavy floats up a steep hill so that we could get to the parking lot. The good thing is that there are some shade structures here that you can wait at while the other members of your group go to get the cars. Now that we are safely back on shore, let's go over all of the information so you could do the Salt River Float for yourself. We will be starting off with what are the float routes. The Salt River Float, aka Salt River Tubing, takes place along the lower Salt River in the Tonto National Forest. This is just northeast of Mesa and about 40 minutes east of Phoenix, Arizona. Most people start their float from the water users recreation site, and along the way there are multiple spots where you can take your tube out, depending on how long you want to spend on the river. If you are floating from stop 1 to stop 5, like we did in this video, it will be around 7 to 8 miles. Big shout out, by the way, to Visit Mesa for letting us use this beautiful map. We'll have a link to them down in the description. As I mentioned before, Stop 1 is the water user's recreation site, and this is the starting point for most tube trips, even if you are renting. Stop 2 is the Blue Point Bridge, Pebble Beach, and Sheep's Crossing. This is between 1.5 hours to 2 hours downstream from Stop 1, and this is a great exit for beginners or those who want a shorter float. There are 3 different exit options to choose from, and they are all located right next to each other on the riverbank. Stop number 3 is Goldfield. This is the halfway point of the float, and it's between 2.5 hours to 3 hours from Stop 1. If you are renting with the Salt River Tubing Company, this is where you will end your float, and this is also the most popular endpoint for most tubers. Stop number 4 is Coon Bluff. This is a quieter and less commonly used extension point beyond the main tubing route, but stopping here will give you a much better chance to see the wild horses. And stop number 5 is Fondee Sutton. This is between 4 to 5 hours from Stop 1, and this exit is typically used more for kayaks, paddleboards, or advanced tubers. The river gets narrower in sections, and at this exit there is a steep climb to get to the parking lot. This means if you are hauling heavy rafts or kayaks up the steep hill, things can get a little bit difficult. Next up, we will be going over the differences between renting a tube or doing the DIY version of the float. The most popular option for rentals is Salt River Tubing. They charge $28 per person for tube, shuttle, and parking. If you bring your own tube, it is $22 per person. This is the easiest way to do the Salt River Float logistically, or if you don't have multiple cars for shuttling. However, the rental place is only open from May to September, so if you're planning on doing the Salt River Float outside of that time frame, you'll have to do it on your own. Salt River Tubing only rents tubes, but if you are looking to rent paddle boards or inflatable kayaks, there are a couple of options. There's a company called No Snow that rents paddle boards for $40. Or you can go through AZ Kayaks and get either paddle boards or inflatable kayaks for between $30 to $50. Please note that those 2 options do not include shuttles. If you are planning on doing the float on your own, you can do it for free if you have a park pass. However, the logistics can be a little bit confusing. You will need at least 2 cars, one to park at the start and one to park at the exit. If you are planning on going on weekends or holidays, parking can be very hard to find. I actually went through the trouble of trying to count the parking spaces from the satellite view, and while the rental parking lot has around 1,131 spaces, the water user's parking lot only has about 259 spaces, and the Fondee Sutton parking area only has about 338 spaces, and these fill up very fast. While the river itself is free to access and use, there are some other hidden costs, such as parking at the access points. All of the Forest Service sites listed under the Salt River Float routes require a Tonto Pass. However, if you have the America the Beautiful Pass, you can also use that instead. The Tonto Pass can be purchased in person at many retail vendors in the area, such as Circle K, Quick Trip, Fry's, etc. You can also purchase one on site at the fee machines. Besides parking, you will also need your own tubes. Next up, we have, can you bring your kids or pets on the Salt River Float? Kids and pets are allowed on the Salt River Float. However, if you are renting with the Salt River Tubing Company, there are age and height restrictions. Kids need to be at least 8 years old and at least 4 feet tall. If you are doing the float on your own, there aren't any restrictions. However, for the safety of your children, please be sure that they have life jackets on. This river can get bumpy in certain areas, and unfortunately, there are cases of people who have drowned here. We also got pushed under a bunch of trees and bushes, so if you're going to bring your kids, they might need to be a little bit on the tough side. As for pets, if you are renting, we recommend calling the Salt River Tubing Company to check before going. We did the float ourselves so we could bring Asher the adventure pup with us. If you are bringing your dog, please make sure that you bring them plenty of water, keep your dogs leashed when on shore and in recreation areas, and have a properly fitted life jacket, especially if your dog is not a strong swimmer. In addition to that, you need to watch out for sharp rocks and wildlife such as snakes, and also please be sure to bring some shade for your four-legged friend because you're going to be out in that sun for quite a while. Next we have what is the best time to do the Salt River Float. If you prefer a smaller crowd, we recommend going on weekday mornings. In fact, weekday mornings in late May, June, or September are best. These days usually have the perfect balance of pleasant weather, good river flow, and smaller crowds. Make sure to start as early as possible. We recommend starting between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. if not earlier. This way you can find parking more easily, have cooler temperatures when transporting your float, and you have a better chance of seeing those wild horses. On the weekends, the river can get very crowded. We got to the parking lot around 7:30 a.m. and there were barely any parking spots left. If you are going on the weekend, we recommend getting there before 8 a.m. It is best if you avoid holiday weekends such as Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day because it is going to be a zoo out there. Also, July and August are the busiest months. The next category we have is what gear do you need to do the float? We have broken this down into 3 different categories. We have must-have items, nice-to-have items, and don't-have items. As far as must-have items go, the first one is, of course, a tube or raft. Mesh bottom tubes like the River Run 1 or the River Run Pro are awesome choices. If you want more space, you can use something like the Colobana floating dock, and if you bring your pup, you can use the dog on the water ramp to help them get in and out of the water. The next item on the list is an air pump, and it's especially helpful if you have one that you can bring with you on the water. For this trip, we were using our trusty Flextail Max Pump 3. This river can get quite rowdy, so we recommend bringing a tube patch just in case. If you are not a strong swimmer or if you have kids with you, we do recommend bringing a life jacket. Water shoes or secure sandals will protect your feet from the rocky and slippery river bottom. A dry bag is very important for storing your keys, wallet, and phone. You're going to want to bring some sunscreen so you don't look like a lobster by the end of the float. Sun shirts are another great option to protect you from the harsh Arizona sun. Pair that up with a wide-brimmed hat and sunglasses for a winning combination, and you're probably going to want the kind that has a strap just so you don't lose them to the river. Even though you're going to be on the water, you want to bring plenty of drinking water because dehydration is a huge issue on hot days. We also recommend bringing an emergency paddle to help you steer your tube down the river, and we also recommend bringing towels on board. You can use these to cover yourself if the sun gets to be too much. If you are renting tubes, you really want to bring towels and sheets because the rental tubes are black and they get really hot in the sun. As an additional pro tip, we also recommend downloading an offline map on your phone so you can track your location as you float down the river. This will be really helpful when telling if you are getting close to your exit. The shoreline looks very similar, so it's hard to tell from one exit to another. Cell phone reception is not very good here, so it's good to have that map downloaded. Now we are moving on to the nice-to-have items. First up, we have a cooler. This is great to keep your drinks nice and cool. We saw a lot of people out there that took small coolers and put them on top of pool noodles to tie them to their float. However, we brought a floating cooler, and that was really helpful. Squirt guns will take your float to a whole new level. We actually had water fights with other floaters and people on the beach, and it made for a very fun experience. Waterproof phone cases are great if you want to be able to take pictures as you float along. And you can also get waterproof waist belts if you want to keep some items easily accessible. If you plan on bringing an action camera to film the float, you really need to get a floating grip for it. Things can get pretty crazy out there, and as you saw in the video, we did lose one camera on our float. If you are wanting to stay with your friends, it's important to bring carabiners or some sort of tube connectors to keep your group together. Unless you want to float down the river with a hangry little monster, it's important to bring snacks. A small waterproof first aid kit is great in case you get scraped by some rogue bushes or trees. And if you plan on getting out of your tube and swimming at any point during the float, we recommend bringing some fins. And last but not least, we have things that you don't want to bring on the float. And that is glass containers. They are prohibited. Flip-flops that can easily fall off, and valuable items that you don't want to either get wet or lose on the float. And that is going to do it for our video about the Salt River Float. We had an absolute blast, and we look forward to doing it again next year. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have ideas for future videos, let us know. And for all the information about the Salt River Float, as well as other awesome Arizona adventures, head on over to livethatadventure.com.